The following works deal with the cultural, political, economic, military, biographical, and geologic history of pre-territorial Idaho, Idaho Territory and the State of Idaho. Surveys of Idaho History. Aiken, Catherine, Kevin R. Marsh, Laura Woodworth Ney. Idaho, The Heroic Journey. Sherbo Publishing Group. ISBN 1-8829337337. Bancroft, Hubert Howe. The History of Washington, Idaho and Montana Volume 31. San Francisco, California. The History Company. Bronson, Cornelius J. History of the State of Idaho. New York, C. Scribner's Sons. Idaho, The Place and Its People, A History of the Gem State from Prehistoric to Present Day. 3 volumes. Chicago, American Historical Society, 1933. Elliott, Wallace W. History of Idaho Territory showing its resources and advantages, with illustrations descriptive of its scenery, residences, farms, mines, mills. San Francisco. Fisher, Vardas, ed. The Idaho Encyclopedia, Federal Writers Project of the Works Progress Administration. Works Progress Administration. French. RMT. History of Idaho. A narrative account of its historical progress, its people and its principal interests. Chicago, Lewis Pub. Co. Volume 2. Haley, John. The History of Idaho. Boise, Idaho. Press of Sims York Company, Inc. Hawley, James Henry. History of Idaho, The Gem of the Mountains. Chicago, The S. J. Clark Publishing Company. Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4. McConnell, William John. Early History of Idaho. Caldwell, Idaho. Caxton Press. Schwant, Carlos Analdo. In Mountain Shadows, A History of Idaho. Lincoln, Nebraska, University of Nebraska Press. ISBN 0803292414. Historic Expeditions. Engelman, George. Forward, William Henry. Gray, Asher, Gregory, James F. Sheridan, Philip Henry. Report of an exploration of parts of Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana in August and September 1882, made by Lieutenant Gen. P. H. Sheridan, commanding the Military Division of the Missouri, with the itinerary of Col. Jas. F. Gregory, and a geological and botanical report by W. H. Forward, Washington, D.C., U.S. Government Printing Office. Matz, Merrill J. Coulter's Henanamp, Jackson's Hole. The Fur Troopers' Exploration of the Yellowstone and Grand Teton Park Region. Gardner, Mount. Yellowstone Library and Museum Association and Grand Teton Natural History Association. Work, John. Louis, William S. Paul C. Phillips, eds. The Journal of John Work, a chief trader of the Hudson's Bay Co. During his expedition from Vancouver to the Flatheads and Blackfeet of the Pacific Northwest, Cleveland. The Arthur H. Clark Company. Hayden Geological Survey. Hayden, F. V. The Great West, Its Attractions and Resources, containing a popular description of the marvelous scenery, physical geography, fossils and glaciers of the wonderful region, and the recent explorations of the Yellowstone Park, the Wonderland of America. Bloomington, Ill. Charles R. Brodix. Merrill, Marlene Deahl, ed. Yellowstone and the Great West Journals. Letters and images from the 1871 Hayden Expedition. Lincoln, Nebraska. University of Nebraska Press. ISBN 08032314882. Lewis and Clark Expedition. Ambrose, Stephen E. Undaunted Courage. New York. Simon and Amp. Schuster, ISBN 0-684811073. Russell, Steve F. Lewis and Clark Across the Mountains, Mapping the Core of Discovery in Idaho. Boise, Idaho, Idaho State Historical Society Press. ISBN 0-931406161. Business and Labor. Aiken, Catherine G. Idaho's Bunker Hill. The Rise and Fall of the Great Mining Company, 1885 to 1981. Norman, Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma Press. ISBN 0806136820. Indians. Arnold R. Ross. Indian Wars of Idaho. Caldwell, Idaho, Caxton Press. Eels, Myron, George Henry Atkinson. History of Indian Missions on the Pacific Coast, Oregon, Washington and Idaho. Philadelphia, The American Sunday School Union. Macbeth. The Nez Perces since Lewis and Clark. New York, F. H. Revelco. Murphy, Robert F. Yolanda Murphy. Northern Shoshone and Bannock. In Warren L. D. Acevedo. Handbook of North American Indians, Volume 11, Great Basin. Washington, D.C., Smithsonian Institution. ISBN 978-016-0045813. Franklin County Historical Society. The Passing of the Redmen, being a succinct account of the last battle that wrested Idaho from the bondage of the Indians. Preston, ID. Franklin County Historical Society and Monument Committee. Military Histories. Brown, Colonel W.C. The Sheep-Eater Campaign. Idaho 1879. Idaho Historical Society. Green, Jerome A. Nez Perce Summer, the U.S. Army and the Namipu Crisis. Helena, Montana. Montana Historical Society Press. ISBN 0917298683. Hampton, Bruce. Children of Grace, the Nez Perce War of 1877. New York, Henry Holt and Company. ISBN 0805019991X. Kip, Lawrence. Army Life on the Pacific, a journal of the expedition against the Northern Indians, the tribes of the Coeur d'Alenes, Spokanes, and Paloozes, in the summer of 1858. New York, Redfield, West Elliott. The Last Indian War, The Nez Perce Story. Oxford, Oxford University Press. ISBN 978-019-513675-3. Primary sources: Miles, Nelson A. Personal Reflections and Observations of Nelson A. Miles. Chicago, The Werner Company. Report of Special Commissioners J. W. Powell and G. W. Ingalls on the condition of the Ute Indians of Utah, the Paiutes of Utah, northern Arizona, southern Nevada, and southeastern California, the Gusii Utes of Utah and Nevada, the northwestern Shoshones of Idaho and Utah, and the western Shoshones of Nevada. U.S. Bureau of Indian Affairs, 1873. Local and Regional Histories. Beale, Merrill D. History of Southeastern Idaho. Caldwell, Idaho, Caxton Press. L. Sensen, Sister M. Elfrida. Pioneer Days in Idaho County. Cladwell, I.D., Claxton Press. Russell, Burt. Hardships and Happy Times in Idaho's Street. Joe Wilderness as Told by the Old Timers. Harrison, I.D., Lacan Publishers. ISBN 0930344049. Vardis Fisher, ed., Idaho. A Guide in Word and Picture. Federal Writers Project of the Works Progress Administration. Works Progress Administration. An Illustrated History of North Idaho, embracing Nez Perces, Idaho, Latta, Kootenai and Shoshone Counties, State of Idaho. Western Historical Pub. Co. 1903. Law and Order. Langford, Nathaniel Pitt. Vigilante Days and Ways. The Pioneers of the Rockies, the Makers and Making of Montana, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming. New York, D.D. Merrill. Ghost Towns. Florin, Lambert. Montana, Idaho and Wyoming, Ghost Towns. Seattle, Superior Publishing Company. Webb, Todd. Gold Strikes and Ghost Towns. Garden City, New Jersey, Doubleday & Co. Weiss, Norman D. Ghost Towns of the Northwest. Caldwell, Idaho, University of Nebraska Press for Caxton Press. ISBN 087004201-7. Biographies. Ashby, Leroy. Fighting the Odds, The Life of Senator Frank Church. Pullman, Washington State University Press. ISBN 978-087422103-9. The Historical Encyclopedia of Wyoming. Cheyenne, Wyoming, Wyoming Historical Institute, 1970. Mummy, Noli. The Life of Jim Baker, 1818–1898. New York, Interland Publishing. Scherer, Joanna Cohan. A Danish Photographer of Idaho Indians, Benedict arrested. Norman, Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma Press. ISBN 978-08061-36844. Scott Kim Allen. Yellowstone Denied, The Life of Gustavus Cheney Doane. Norman, Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma Press. ISBN 978-08061-38008. Smallwood, William L. McClure of Idaho. Caldwell, Idaho, Caxton Press. ISBN 087004458-3. Memoirs and Primary Sources. Bonney, Orrin H. Bonney, Lorraine. Battle Drums and Guizes, The Life and Journals of L.T. Gustavus Cheney Doane, soldier and explorer of the Yellowstone and Snake River regions. Chicago, Swallow Press. Taylor, Glenhurst. The Way It Was With Me. ISBN 0818402881. Political Histories. Colson, Dennis C. Idaho's Constitution, The Tie That Binds. Caldwell, Idaho, Caxton Press. ISBN 0893012653. Limbaugh, Ronald H. Rocky Mountain Carpetbaggers. Idaho's Territorial Governors, 1863–1890. Moscow, ID, Idaho Research Foundation. ISBN 0893010820. Staples, Randy. Governing Idaho, Politics, People and Power. Caldwell, Idaho, Caxton Press. ISBN 0870044478. Staples, Randy. Paradox, Politics, People and Power in Idaho. Carlton or Rydenbaugh Press. ISBN 0982466803. Social History. Featherling, Douglas. The Gold Crusades. A Social History of the Gold Rushes, 1849–1929. Toronto, on University of Toronto Press. ISBN 08208046-4. Johnston, Rachel S. Inmates of the Idaho Penitentiary, 1864–1947. Idaho State Historical Society Press. Geology. Eldridge, George Homans. A Geological Reconnaissance Across Idaho. U.S. Geological Survey Annual Report is 16. Lindgren, Valdemar. The Mining Districts of the Idaho Basin and the Boise Ridge, Idaho. Washington, D.C. U.S. Government Printing Office. Bibliography. American Imprints Inventory. New York, Krause Reprint Corporation, 1964. Reese, John E. Idaho Chronology, Nomenclature, Bibliography. Chicago, W. B. Conkey Co.